and I have been trying to turn our Nelson County Republican Party around and get people more active, and try and get people involved in conservative values. And I think we've been doing a really good job. We have, a very large executive committee. We had a full county committee the first time in Republican history in Nelson County. We were able to get all county committee seats filled. Then we decided to go to an executive committee, and we now have the largest executive committee in the state of Kentucky of all the Republican parties. Generally, there are about 10 to 12 people on an executive committee of a Republican county party, but we have around 42. So we have a very vibrant, exciting county party, and we are trying to change as many conservatives to the Republican Party as possible here, and I think we're doing a pretty good job of it. I have a lot of help with a lot of good people on the executive committee, and we're trying to move forward. One of the things we did last year, as you guys know, I came in to talk to both of you, is we passed a resolution condemning our state representative, Mr. McCoy, for trying to pass a gas tax 2 times after he was elected, by saying that he was opposed to raising the gas tax. He had sent out a mailer saying in 2015 saying that he was opposed to hiking the gas tax, but then just a year and a half into office, he decided to do that twice. So we passed a resolution, and as you both know, that made some headlines, because it's just not normal for a county party to go after their own representative. But we felt it was an extraordinary step that was needed, because about 3 days before he introduced or co-sponsored the gas tax raise in 2019, we had met with Mr. McCoy, and he failed to tell us that he was going to even. It was actually a meeting specifically to go over legislation that he was proposing. And in the entire hour and a half meeting, he never once said that he was going to be introducing or co-sponsoring a gas tax raise. Just 3 days later, after our meeting, he co-sponsors a gas tax bill again. That gas tax would also have doubled the vehicle registration fee.
Right.
And that's hurt. People are hurting right now, especially with a lot of people out of work. Just back in 2018, they raised 41 new taxes, and I think back in 2018, that's when Margie Bradford she went ahead and basically said, "Hey, isn't this hurting the average person harder? Isn't this hurting the elderly harder?" And that's when Mr. McCoy rebutted back and said, well, these are option taxes. One of the things I brought up during my debate on Monday was, if a working family has one car and their car breaks down, they now have to go in and pay a service tax on getting that fixed. But that's not an option if you only have one car. It's not an option to get whether if you're going to go to work or not. It's not an option. And I just think that McCoy is out of touch with the average working family of Nelson County, and that's why the Republican Party here said, "Hey, we think you're out of touch. Please, stop your march towards ever increasing taxes." And I think we're trying to do our best to let the public know that there's a different solution. Attacking the working families of Nelson County by continually taxing them and increasing taxes is not the answer.
Right.
And giving banks a $100 million tax break is definitely not the answer, because that is hurting the working people of Nelson County.
Well, Don, I did want to, speaking of taxes, you refer to the McCoy tax increases. Now, in 2018, the General Assembly approved the changes to the sales tax. And it was the General Assembly that approved it, not just Chad McCoy. And they added 17 business categories to the sales tax. First up, is it fair to blame Chad McCoy for something the General Assembly did? And then also, what you mentioned 41 taxes, and I'd like to, explain what you're referring to in that number.
Well, that's the total number of taxes that he has increased and created.
Okay.
Since being up since being in office, those are the things that he's voted for in total. Now, when you say, Chad McCoy is just part of the General Assembly, you're correct. But he's also says that he's a leader up there. He says that he likes to, you can't say, oh well, I'm a leader in the House of Representatives, and then not expect someone to say, hey, this is part of your responsibility. I'm not going to say it's like me saying, it's like you saying, well, Don, you didn't condemn Mr. McCoy's, you didn't do this resolution. The county committee did. Well, I'm a leader, and I'm a leader of the Republican Party here, and I'll take blame for it if someone wants to blame me for something. But I think if you're in leadership, you're responsible for what goes on.
All right, I got my headphones wrapped around the chair, Don. All right. Of course, you mentioned that Chad is a leader in the House as a House Majority Whip. And you as you mentioned during the debate, you made ethics allegations against Chad, and wrote to the entire Republican caucus in the State House of Representatives, making these allegations. Apparently, nothing came of that. I mean, that was June last year when you did that. Is that right?
Well, okay. So, I had asked them to take action. I said I don't want to file a formal complaint. And I sent you the copy of the email. I said I don't want to file a formal complaint. I was leaving it up to them to try and take action themselves, because it just doesn't. I think it just doesn't. You want to give people a chance to try and rectify something first before you file a complaint. I have not filed a formal ethics complaint, but I think it looks like I'm going to have to do that because Mr. McCoy keeps insisting that he's innocent on it, and he's not. If you noticed on Monday's debate, he said he's not even allowed to take a cup of coffee. But clearly, he took 2 bottles of alcohol from the Bardstown Bourbon Company, thanked them on his public Facebook page, and I hate bringing that up, but he's the one that brought up ethics allegations against me, and the county party is the one that approved that ad in the Kentucky Standard. I abstained from even voting for it. Mm-hmm. So our books are open. Mr. McCoy has been the one that's trying to obfuscate everything. He's a lawyer. He's very good at hiding things. He's very good at turning things around. And, it's not fair to the working people of this county for our state representative to take, one of the largest contributions to his campaign was from the Bankers Association. He's the one that he voted to reduce $100 million in taxes to the bankers, to the banks. You don't do that. You don't take money from, and then give your contributor, a $100 million tax break. It's just not fair. It's not fair to the working people of this county. And I'll tell you, he's taking money from Aetna Health Insurance PAC, the Humana Health Insurance PAC, the WellCare Health Insurance PAC, the Pfizer Pharmaceutical PAC, the Amgen Pharmaceutical PAC, the Express Pharmaceutical PAC, the Kentucky Highway Contractors PAC, the Kentucky Attorney PAC, the Kentucky Bankers Association back. When you take money like that, Jim and Margie, you know, where do you think all this money's coming from for all these mailers? This is an unprecedented amount of mailers that Mr. McCoy is sending out, and it's crazy. It's like he sent out over 15 mailers in a primary race. Where's he getting that money for that? I'll tell you where he's getting the money from these special interest groups.
Well, Don, that leads me to my next question. You've been sending out mailers and taking out large newspaper ads. I haven't seen your financials yet, but I will. Who or how is funding your campaign? All the advertising?
Sure. I've had mostly small contributions. I have not taken any PAC money, and I will not take any PAC money. I vowed to do that, and clearly the financials will show that I've never taken special interest money. Mostly, I think half of the campaign is, I'm still under $5,000, by the way.
Okay.
So it's a very de minimis amount of money compared to the $300,000 that Mr. McCoy spent over the last 4 years. You know, you can do a lot with $5,000, but you know it doesn't compare with $300,000 that Mr. McCoy has spent, most of which has come from special interest groups.
Right. Well, Don, I wanted to ask you about a couple of the things on your mailers, if you don't mind. One thing I was wanting to point out, Jim, is if you remember, and unfortunately, Mr. McCoy never responded to this on Monday. He asked me, or he basically said that there's a lot of half-truths in my opening statement. I have challenged Mr. McCoy to point out one thing that was a half-truth. He failed to do it. In fact, he wouldn't even look me in the eye on the debate. And no one has been able to come back and say, hey, this is what definitively was false about any of my statements. Especially, there was a chart that I put in the Kentucky Standard. And if you look at that chart, everything in there is actually correct. But yet Mr. McCoy is telling his supporters that there's half-truths in here. And I just want to go over this, and I want to give you verification of what these are. So House Bill 46 in 2019 is the bill that Mr. McCoy voted against in God We Trust signs in schools. So that was HB 46, 2019. Then, also in 2019, he voted for SB 114, or SB 114. That was the bill to double, and in some cases triple, the fees people pay at the county clerk's office. One thing I also want to say is HB 49 was a bill that was supposed to be for electronic signatures for property tax recall bills. Mr. McCoy told us that he was for this bill and that he was going to fight for it. Well, at the time, it included all 120 counties to get electronic signatures on property tax recall bills. So if somebody in our county said, hey, we want to recall property tax, a school board property tax, we could have gotten electronic signatures. But under the House leadership, with Mr. McCoy being in the House leadership, they said, no, we only want to give it to the two biggest counties. So right now, in the state of Kentucky, because of Mr. McCoy and the other leaders of the House leadership, they've only given electronic signatures for property tax recall petitions to Jefferson County and Fayette County. Now, to me, that's discriminatory. You're discriminating against the rural counties. It is not right. So then we go to House Bill 475. It's the local sales tax bill. And Mr. McCoy claims when people call him that he didn't support this bill, but he did co-sponsor HB 475. And that was this year, by the way. HB 475 is proposing to increase or create a new local sales tax, giving local powers to the local governments to have sales tax ability. I wish Mr. McCoy would just come clean and be honest with them that he's actually a co-sponsor of it. It's not that hard to find.
all you got to do is go to the Legislative Research Commission's website, and it's all on there. Then we have, I put on there that local driver's license offices, that he's voted to eliminate local control of the county clerk, or county circuit clerk currently has driver's license issuance ability. Well, he voted this year to close that and to turn it over to the state. So now, in 2022, when this bill will, or this law will go into effect, and we're going to have to either drive to Elizabethtown or somewhere else. They're saying probably Elizabethtown, but to get a driver's license. Now, during the debate, Mr. McCoy said, "Oh, I like to do things local. I ask everybody locally first what we do." Well, he didn't ask Jeanette Sidebottom, the county clerk, on what should be done about driver's license, because I'll tell you what she's already told me, and that is the fact that they would rather have driver's licenses in their offices. They already do motor vehicle, so if someone moves here, from out of state or needs to move, do something, change something, it would be a lot easier just to go to one place instead of now in 2022, because of Mr. McCoy's vote and help with this bill. They're going to have to go to the county clerk to get a vehicle registration, and they're probably going to have to drive to Elizabethtown to get a driver's license. Now, what I talked to Ms. Sidebottom about is that they can have a driver's license office or be able to issue driver's license out of her office, and if they do that, they can streamline the voter registration at the same time. And so I find it disingenuous that Mr. McCoy would do that. It's just I don't know, it's just baffling to me.
Well, Don, tell me a little bit about on one of your flyers, you mentioned that you, that you stopped a garbage rate hike at Nelson Fiscal Court after discovering county issues. And to your credit, you did alert the court that there were changes. And correct me if I'm wrong, wasn't it to do with like a franchise fee or a tax that you pointed out that they couldn't collect or charge anymore?
Okay, so
that was back in October.
Yes, sir. So originally, it was about the failure of the county. People were recycling, putting plastic, into recycling, thinking that those was going to be recycled. Well, for about a year, that was just being dumped into the landfill. So I believe that's been rectified, and that's good. But I also started looking into what was going on with the finances at the landfill. And what I discovered, that's because, another thing is Dean in the fiscal court was contemplating, and you're well aware of this, Jim, they're contemplating raising the garbage fees by $1. And, in the state of Kentucky, if a government runs an operation like a utility or gas or garbage pickup, then they have to, they only can charge what is reasonable for operations.
Right.
So in other words, they can't just say, okay, well, we're going to charge $30 for garbage pickup, and then spend that $15 on something else. It's just against the law. So not only the county has been illegally charging itself a franchise fee. It's amounted to almost $400,000 since the inception of the program. Mm-hmm. But also, they've been generating a substantial amount of revenue over the amount of general operational costs. So the reason being that the fiscal court was even discussing having a $1 garbage fee rate or increase was because they said that they needed new trucks.
Right.
Well, for the past, I actually did a chart on it. If you would have brought this up to me, I would have been more than happy to give you the chart. Where's that? Let me find it real quick. But the chart basically outlines the fact that over the past 10 years alone, we're talking a lot of money has been should have if we needed trucks over the last 10 years, they should have been slowly doing it. Okay, I found it. So here's the numbers. Have you seen this chart yet, Jim?
I don't remember if I've seen it or not. The point I wanted to make, Don, was because
I have it. I pulled it up. So between 2015 and 2016, there was $115,000 transferred from solid waste to the county's general fund. 35,000 of that, there was also 35,000 for the improper franchise tax. That's a total of $150,000. So, I'm sorry, $370,000 transferred from landfill. That's a total of $520,000. So when you're talking about every year, the franchise tax, the overage from the solid waste that was. And so landfill and solid waste are two things on the budgeting for the county. But the way it was set up originally, it's only under one umbrella. So you can't say, oh, well, landfill's bringing in such and such, and then garbage collection is bringing in such and such, and we can separate those. Well, they can't be separated. So over the last 5 years, there's been $750,000 overage from solid waste transferred into county funds, and there's been $1.258 million from landfill that was overcharged for a total of $2 million, or $2,008,000 was overage in just the last 5 years alone. So do you know how many trucks could have been purchased for $2 million? And now they want to raise our garbage tax, our garbage fees by $1. Now, granted, Dean did call me, and he said that they've decided not to go with the $1 raise, but they're going to try and do a 50-cent raise. But believe me, the minute they try and do this, I'm going to go up there and point this all out again, because I don't think we should be having even a 50-cent raise, because we already have overages. So, yeah, I did stop it from being $1 to 50 cents, but they haven't even done it yet, and I'm going to try to stop the 50 cents too, because you can't just break the law, Jim.
Well, Don, I've got there was a Tuesday, October 15th, 2019 meeting, and if you look at the video, this was just a general discussion about the need for additional revenue in anticipation of additional capital expenses at the landfill. There was no $1 or 50-cent rate on the table at that time. So that's why I questioned if you actually stopped it, because it was just a discussion at that point.
Okay.
Let me continue. The court's 2021 budget includes a 50-cent increase in the garbage rate, which, by the way, had been the same since 2013.
Okay, so let me explain to you how it works. I know you're an astute person that observes the fiscal court, but Dean called me and we talked about this, and he said that he was going to introduce a $1 increase. And you can call him and ask anyone that's out there. Please call Dean Watts and ask him if you don't believe me. He was proposing a $1 increase in the garbage fee. Okay, so after I brought all this up, he said, "Well, we're gonna put this off till next year. We'll bring it back up next year." Well, next year came, and it was never brought up again. But after I put that in the paper, Dean did call me. He said, just want you to know, we're probably going to be talking about instead of the $1, we're probably going to be doing 50 cents, trying to do a 50-cent raise. So I'll be more than happy to go back up to fiscal court and try and fight that 50 cents. But they shouldn't be having anything because they have a surplus, and under the law you can't do that. And so you're more than welcome to call Dean, and I'm sure he'll verify it. You can put him on the radio if he says I'm wrong, because I know exactly what I heard, and that's he originally wanted a $1 raise. I have all the emails between Brad Spalding and John Greenwell that says the exact same thing. So,
Right.
There's a paper trail, Jim. Paper trail.
We need to take a break.
We need to take a quick commercial break. Don, we'll put you on hold, and we'll be right back.
Yes,
That'll
sir.
be all right. All right, sir. We're talking to Don Thrasher, GOP candidate for 50th District State Representative. We'll be right back after these messages.
Here's the good news from your friends at Boone's Butcher Shop, Old Bloomfield Pike, here in Bardstown. The hours are now from 9 in the morning till 6 in the evening, 6 days a week. That's Monday through Saturday. And from 8 to 9 on Tuesdays and Thursdays, we'll have that special hour for those senior citizens and those that are immune and compromised. Plus, meat prices have stabilized and in many cases lowered. That's great news. The deli is still grab and go to allow for appropriate social distancing in the store. So please continue to support us as we continue to work through this for you. Boone's Butcher Shop has the meat bundle this week, some 21 pounds of meat for $59.95. Feel thick sliced bologna, the 12-ounce pack, only $2.99. Boone's has boneless, skinless chicken breast in the 10-pound bag. In the family pack, only $15.90. And pork's on sale, too. Stop by and take advantage of the great specials. And remember, Boone's Butcher Shop, now open Monday through Saturday from 9 in the morning till 6. Special hours for those senior citizens, Tuesdays and Thursdays from 8 until 9 a.m. in the morning. Boone's Butcher Shop, Old Bloomfield Pike, Bardstown.
Bardstown's up-to-date weather.
Your forecast brought to you by Citizens National Bank in Lebanon. Go online to cnboflebanon.com or stop by their location at 149 West Main Street in Lebanon. Citizens National Bank, member FDIC. A 40% chance of a shower or a thunderstorm today, mainly during the afternoon. Partly sunny, a high today, 86. A 30% chance of early evening showers tonight, otherwise partly cloudy, a low 59. The outlook on Thursday, sunshine, a high tomorrow reaching 90.
When a health crisis threatened our community, the healthcare heroes at Springview Hospital answered the call. As we move forward, life might look different, including healthcare. But there's one thing that won't change: the quality of care you've always relied on at Springview Hospital. We are again offering a range of healthcare services, from preventive screenings and physicals to quality of life procedures, to help you make the most of every moment moving forward. Our entire team is working hard to ensure a safe place of care and a healthier community for all of us. Call Springview Hospital today to schedule your appointment at 270-692-3161.
We are pleased to announce that Hearst Discount Drugstore, downtown Bardstown, is back open to the public. Normal hours, Monday through Friday, 9 to 6, Saturday, 9 to 5. Please continue to practice social distancing. However, if you've been sick, have a fever, been in contact with anyone diagnosed with COVID-19, or if you have the symptoms of the virus yourself, please continue to use the curbside service at the side door at Hearst Discount Drugstore. Just call 348-9261, and we'll be glad to bring out your prescription, food, or gift item to your vehicle. Again, thank you for your continued patience, and come see us soon. Hearst Discount Drugstore, historic downtown Bardstown, across from the Visitor Center.
Have a request, rant, or rave? You can now text it to WBRT at 502-348-2222. 502-348-2222. Rant, raves, request, or review. You can give it a text, and never text and drive. Welcome back to the Bradford and Brooks Show, live on WBRT 97.1 FM and 1320 AM. Also, streaming live at WBRTcountry.com.
All right, you're back with Bradford and Brooks. Jim Brooks and Margie Bradford, we're back with you. And let's go back to the phone and pick up our special guest today, who is Don Thrasher. Let's see, and Don, I think we've got him on the phone here. All right, Don, are you back with us? Well, wait a minute. Let me get him pinched up. All right, we're back with Don Thrasher, our special guest today here on Bradford and Brooks. Thanks for holding, Don.
Yes, sir. Can you guys hear me?
Yes, sir.
Yes. All right.
Okay, so one thing you didn't let me finish my thing about you asked about the ad in the paper. Another thing was HB 487 was the bill that helped with, or was one of the bills that raised the taxes that I discussed. Then there was also 2019 was HB 517. That was the attempt to raise the gas tax and double the vehicle registration fee. So are you going to be having Chad on next week?
Yes.
Okay, so will you do me a favor? Because he wouldn't answer this in the debate, and he wouldn't even look at me in the eye when I did ask him this. So if you Margie or Jim, I'd like to ask that you ask him specifically this chart that was in the paper. Ask him specifically what is not factual about this, because he did vote to increase gas taxes twice. The sales tax on services, he did vote to create that. In God We Trust, he did vote against putting in God We Trust signs in schools. That was HB 46, 2019. He is opposed to raising the death penalty. The Second Amendment, he is pro-Second Amendment. However, he would not sponsor a resolution for the 2A sanctuary. He would also not sponsor Representative Savannah Maddox's anti-red flag gun law bill. And he did sponsor a bill to double vehicle registration fees. And he is a proponent and supports creating a new local sales tax. And he did vote to eliminate the local driver's license office. So if you could, please, next Wednesday, if I would be eternally grateful if you could get an answer from him specifically in this chart what I was not factually correct about, because the bills, bills don't lie. They stay up in Frankfurt in the records for a long time, and who sponsors them, co-sponsors them, and how they vote, that's all in Frankfurt. You can't make that stuff up. So my question to you guys is, will you please next Wednesday ask him? I'll bring you a copy of the paper, the standard that this comparison chart has. Ask him what specifically is false about this, because he likes to tell his supporters that this chart was false, but he has yet to put out an ad specifically with any specifics whatsoever saying how this is false. And
all right, Don.
I just would like.
We will ask him.
Yes.
Now,
we'll take care of that.
Now, Don, you and I have been chatting for most of this time, and Margie wants to get a word in, even if she has to fold it in two and slip it in edgewise.
That's right.
Hi, Margie. I like talking to you.
Don, I'm looking at one of your door hangers of your campaign material, and on it says that you're endorsed by the Republican Party of Nelson County. Is that correct?
Yes, ma'am.
But aren't you the chair of the party of Nelson County? And wouldn't you consider that a conflict of interest?
I don't think it's a conflict of interest at all. They actually had if you know anything about those people that are on that county committee, I was actually worried that they would endorse Chad. And I think I've talked to Jim about this, but, Chad is a pretty persuasive guy. Some of these mailers that he sent out, to be honest with you, if I didn't know any better, I would already have voted for him. In fact, I voted for him in 2018 until I started finding out what was.
Well, but
I agree. I agree that just because I don't think it's a conflict. I'll tell you why. I didn't preside over the meeting. I abstained from voting. I was not even in the room when they voted on it. So I don't see it being a conflict.
Well, I tell you, it's just for me. I've been around politics for a long time, And I have never seen or heard of a local party endorsing one of their own candidates before the primary. That's just a no-no. You treat all the you repeat, you
treat everybody equally.
Yes, you treat everyone equally. All of your candidates. I mean the party candidates. So yeah, I guess I just see it how I just see such a conflict there.
Well, maybe you guys could have the executive committee, some executive committee members on to discuss it, because it was up to them. It wasn't up to me who they endorsed. They also endorsed Donald Trump, Senator McConnell, and they that's up to them. But just know this: have you ever seen a county party ever pass a resolution condemning their own state representative? This is an unusual circumstance. Let me just give you an example of why they did this. Mr. McCoy says that he has to be a Republican conservative because he's in leadership. But one thing I want to point out is the Freedom Heritage Foundation is one of the most Christian conservative policy organizations in Frankfurt. They endorse every Republican leader, Speaker Osborne, Speaker Pro Tem David Meade, and also Speaker Osborne and Meade, but they failed to endorse Chad McCoy. You know who they did recommend? Don Thrasher. That was also unprecedented.
Well, Don, I think
there's never been a Republican leader that was not endorsed by the Heritage Freedom Forum, and so that should tell you right there. The county committee is on par with this, and I'll tell you why this is. Because Mr. McCoy has failed to return any surveys whatsoever. The Commonwealth Policy Center, he wouldn't write back. The Family Foundation Trust, he didn't respond to their questionnaire. And I'll tell you why he didn't respond to that questionnaire. He is for illegal aliens getting driver's licenses in the state of Kentucky. He is for Kentuckians being forced to limit their carbon emissions because he thinks greenhouse gases are causing global warming. So when you ask me if this is normal, no, Margie, it's not normal for the county party to do this. But it is abnormal to have a man that won't even respond to three of the most conservative groups in Frankfurt in their surveys. Mr. McCoy failed to even show up when they made the decision. He could have come in to the county committee and said, hey, here's why you can vote for me. Please don't endorse Don Thrasher. Endorse me. Here's what I did for you. He didn't even show up, Margie. So I'll tell you right now, you're right. This isn't normal. This is abnormal. Having a so-called Republican that doesn't even show up or respond to the most conservative groups in Frankfurt, doesn't even respond to his own county party. So yeah, you're right. This isn't normal.
Well, Don, I wanted to point one thing out to our listeners that what's the name of that group, Heritage?
I sent that to you. I sent that to you last week.
But that's they have a list, and they have those who they endorse, and I guess a lesser recommendation, which I'm not sure where that dividing line is or what that represents. But you were recommended and not endorsed, and I don't know, did they explain the difference to you?
Okay, so let me. So Speaker Osborne was recommended. David Meade, the Speaker Pro Tem, was recommended. The only one that was endorsed was Bam Carney, the House Majority Leader. And Mr. McCoy was not even recommended or endorsed. So he was completely X'd out. This was extraordinary. I mean, this in the Family Freedom Trust Foundation, he wouldn't even respond about the transgender bathrooms. He failed to even. He said he was undecided about the 2018 about whether or not they should allow transgender bathrooms in schools. Well, He failed to support that bill twice. He then, this year is the first year he failed to file a questionnaire. And, that speaks volumes. When you're not willing to go on the record with the three most conservative groups in Frankfurt, when you don't do that, Jim and Margie, that speaks volumes onto what how you really are.
Well, Don, we're getting down to the wire, and I've got one additional issue I wanted to that came up during the debate, and I kind of wanted you to expand on it. Both you and Mr. McCoy are pro-life. However, you say that you're in favor of the death penalty, and a lot of McCoy is against the death penalty, and I find that a lot of pro-life people are not just against want to protect the lives of infants, unborn infants, but they also are concerned about taking a life as a penalty, in the death penalty.
Oh, I'm glad you brought this up, Jim. I'm glad you brought this up because you remind me about the abortion issue. So Monday night, Mr. McCoy clearly said, and anybody that wants to watch this and rewatch it, it's all on record. He said that the Born Alive Act was quote unquote just meant to rile people up, and that it didn't have any effect at all. But yet his mailer yesterday said this. It said, what's more, the Democratic governor later to try to preserve the life following an attempted abortion. That's evil, and Chad tried to stop it. This is his mailer from the day after he said that it was a meaningless bill. And that this was a bill that was co-sponsored by Jimmy Higdon. Jimmy Higdon stood up for the unborn with Damon Thayer and Ralph Alvarado in the Senate, and he said, we are going to stand up against these potential for babies to be born alive and then still to be killed afterwards. Thank you, Jimmy Higdon, Senator Higdon. I want to personally thank you for this. What Mr. McCoy said Monday night does not represent what the conservatives of this county believe in, because what he said was that it's a bill meant to rile people up. That riles me up. Mr. McCoy has been very disingenuous on the issue of abortion. He could have stopped Andy Bashir and these abortion clinics being open for the last 3 months, almost 3 months.
But the question is about the death penalty.
Hold on, let me speak, please. So he has abandoned the people that put him in the office by saying that he is pro-life. If he's pro-life, then he should have stayed up there if he's in leadership and said, hey, we're not going to allow this. We're not going to let you guys continue to keep two abortion clinics open in the state of Kentucky when everything else is supposed to be closed. That tells me you're not pro-life. When you say that, the Born Alive Act, which Jimmy Higdon worked really hard on to support and sponsor, you can't come around and say, oh, that's meaningless. That's just meant to rile people up. He said that Monday night. Watch the video. Then the next day he sends out a post mailer contradicting what he said the night before. I don't know what you guys think about that, but I'll tell you right now, the murder of innocent babies, it should take precedent over anything. They let that in. They could have voted on Jimmy Higdon's bill in time to override the veto, and they didn't. So, Chad McCoy can say all he wants that he is fighting for the unborn, but at the end of the day, look at the record. Look what he said Monday night in the debate. That's not fighting for the unborn. That is criticizing Jimmy Higdon, who was fighting for the unborn.
All right, Don.
On the death penalty.
Thank you, Don.
Don, we have. I really want you to answer the question. I really want answered isn't about anything Chad McCoy has said or done. It's do you consider it a contradiction to be pro-life, but yet in favor of the death penalty?
Absolutely not. Absolutely not. We live in a society that they need to have a fear when if someone catches whoever shot Jason Ellis, if they ever catch them, they need to be made an example of. They need to be executed, and they need to be publicly, it needs to be, put publicly that this man has been executed, or whoever's done this. It needs to be an example. And, we need to have justice. We need to have a sense of there's consequences to actions. When you kill a police officer like Jason Ellis, you need to be put to death. I'm sorry. You can say that's contradictory or not. The fact is, an example needs to be made. And, there are several unsolved murders in this county. I'm sorry. If they find who did this, any of these, and they can prove it in a court of law, they need to be put to death. I'm sorry. That needs to be an example. So, that's saving lives. You can't allow murderers to just sit in jail forever and at the expense of the state and not expect to be making an example of them.
Well, I don't know how you can respect life on one end of the scale and advocate the death penalty on the other. I mean, that's just where I'm coming from, Don. I think.
Well, then we should ban wars too. Okay, so are you willing to say, okay, the United States should never go to war again? We should never.
That's an illogical. That's an illogical comparison, Don.
Hold on, Jim. Hold on. You asked a question. I'm going to give you my opinion. You can call it illogical, but I'm just giving you my opinion. So if you say that. If someone attacks the United States, we don't want to make an example of anybody that attacks the United States. Let's just take away the guns and from the army and say, it's not unreasonable or illogical comparison.
It's not a good comparison, Don. I'm asking about policy and is the death penalty truly a deterrent? I'm not sure the research backs that up. I really don't.
Well, there's liberal groups. There are liberal groups that there are leftist liberal groups that are actually fostering the unrest that we're seeing right now in this country. That those are the ones that are telling you that, let's do away with the police force. We don't,
we're talking death penalty, Don.
Hold on, Jim. Hold on. So you can go ahead and say, we don't need police. We don't need the death penalty.
I didn't say that.
There's no evidence that says the police work. There's no evidence that says the death penalty works. But in the meantime, they don't care about murdering babies during a pandemic.
All right, Don. Well, we've got about 30 seconds left in today's show. Thanks for coming on, and we had an active, lively discussion. I just wish we had more time.
I do too. Thank you, guys. Thanks, Mark. Have a good day, guys.
All right. Thank you, Don. All right. Have Don Thrasher, candidate for 50th District State Representative. And we're out of time, Margie.
Yes,
we went down to the wire.
Yes, we are.
Have a great week. Next week, we'll have Chad McCoy, State Representative, here on Bradford and Brooks. And until then, have a great week.
WBRT Bardstown, 1320 AM, W246AT Bardstown, 97.1 FM. And now, W235DB Lebanon, 94.9 FM, Lebanon and Marion County.
I'm Ed Donahue.